Thank you, everyone, for this magnificent event. We'd like to invite up the film's director, David Hoffert, and the film's producers, Brenda and Paul Hoffert, who will be in conversation now with Eli Mayerfeld. Please stay for the talkback. Thank you.
So I know it's been a long afternoon, so I want to get started right away. Thank you very much. We'll wait. I'm sure we'll get the rest of the mics out in a minute. For those of you who would like to stay for the talkback, I wanted to ask, first of all, Octavio, congratulations. That was fantastic. Paul, you want to give him your ratings? How to conduct it?
Fantastic. Fantastic. Great. Wonderful performance. Very, 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 very moving.
Thank you so much. It's been a long afternoon, so if anyone is able to still stay and
we can spend a couple of minutes just talking about the film itself, David. So I just want to thank all of you for the years and years of effort that you put in making this film possible. I want to dig in for a minute, though. What made you choose animation? Because I thought that made such an interesting choice for the film.
That's a good question. Once we found the diaries, which was...
We'll get back to that in a minute. Go ahead.
Quite a while into the film, we came to the realization that changed the whole nature of the way we were putting the film together. And then we wanted to, find the perfect way to have those diaries be told. And we considered at first, actors with dramatization with actors, but there was something about that just didn't feel right to us, to have actors portraying, Leo and trying to portray that. We just thought that animation would be the best way to do it. And even though I hadn't planned it, I ended up doing the animation myself.
Wow. Okay. It was really very powerful.
Go ahead, Paul. I could say one of the other aspects of animation that really moved us to use it was that when we finally read the diaries, because it took a couple of years to have them translated after they were found, we realized that reading Leo Spellman's words as his diary went on, and as it was getting to the end of the war, and he was 90 pounds, and he talks about his teeth and all that kind of stuff, he was kind of going mad.
Yeah.
And you could tell that from the way that his writing was changing. And we thought of how we would portray that with live actors. And then when David had the idea to try animation, I think Brenda and I kind of looked at him, and in our minds, we saw that with animation, you could distort the visual portrayal of the young Leo, and you see in parts as the movie goes on, Leo changes in many ways, and we thought that would be an interesting way.
That you could use the art to sort of show his dissembling, his inability to keep it together.
That's correct. Yes.
So this is a pretty artistic family. I jumped right in, but we're pretty lucky that he called you. How did that happen, that he picked you? Because
how I got the call was that back 1,000 years ago, when I was starting out as a composer and an orchestrator and as a musician at large, I worked for a commercial jingle house, we call it. We wrote music for commercials and all of those things. And one day a client walked into the front door, and he said, "I've written some songs. I'd like to have them orchestrated for a big orchestra and a choir." And I got assigned the job. That wasn't Leo, but it was a friend of Leo's. And
years later,
that guy. So anyway, I met with the guy, and I said, "How big an orchestra do you want? You want the Toronto Symphony? You want the London Symphony? You want a little band? How much money do you have?" All that stuff. He said, "I want the London Symphony." So I don't know. I wasn't involved, but anyway, the office booked the London Symphony, and I flew with Bill Burrell, who was the guy, and we recorded this thing. I don't remember many of the details, except I did a nice lush arrangement, and he was happy with it. and we came back to Toronto. I never heard from him again. Fast forward 55 years later, and that fella was a friend of Leo Spellman's. They belonged to the same shul.
In Toronto.
And Leo Spellman's grandkids were saying, we want you to record this. And Leo Spellman apparently turned to Bill Burrell and said, I need a guy who can help me orchestrate my...
And he remembered
thing.
50 years before.
Right, and after 55 years, I got a recommendation. He never said thank you. Anyway, and that's how Leo got my number, and it was a cold call. And the rest of it was very much as you saw in the movie.
So when did you decide you wanted to make a film? It's before you discovered the diary. So David, when did that piece of the puzzle come?
Well, after Leo contacted Paul, who was my father, and Brenda, who's my mother, the two of us had worked together on documentaries, a documentary earlier, and I'm a documentarian and filmmaker myself. And they were telling me, you got to meet this guy. We're doing this recording. And at that time, we didn't know about the diaries. We only knew a little bit about his story. But just the musical part of the story was already enough. And Leo himself, and this is very important because you can't have any kind of movie or documentary without a great character. Leo was, as you saw, he was 98 years old when we met him, but he was so vibrant, he was so charismatic that it just... And then when we realized that his story had never been told and that this music had been lost for so many years, we just thought, wow, this is just an unbelievable story. And at that time, we had no money, we had no anything, but I was in the middle of filming some other things. I have, my friends in the business, and I just said, hey, just at the beginning, I just grabbed cameras and sound guys, and we just started filming. And then 12 years later...
So he could document his story before he died, because he was almost 100.
Well, that was the other thing. We knew right away, we can't wait to get any grants. We can't wait to get any... He's 98. We knew we just had to just...
Jump in.
From the time that I met him till the time we started filming was probably weeks.
Wow.
Yes.
Because,
Brenda, what did you want to
no
add?
choice.
I just wanted to say that our intention, of course, was just to make a film and make a film about Leo rediscovering his music, and it was going to be just this nice, feel-good little film, and it just grew and grew and grew and grew, and 12 years later we finished it. So
Okay, so tell me about the diary. Okay, so you filmed, I think that's not actually how
Brenda,
you reshot that scene of them holding the diary?
No.
We didn't
This is a
reshoot it.
documentary. There was nothing reshot.
You were
Nothing
there
staged.
when they're handing
Well,
it?
I'll tell you
Okay,
the
come on.
story.
Tell the
yes.
story, Brenda. It's
Yes,
your story.
when after Leo died, his family came to David and I, and they said, "Would come to the house? Perhaps you can find something. There are some posters, something to add to the film." So David was in one room. I was in his son's room. Actually, his son, who at the time was 60, 62, something like that. But his dresser had never been cleaned out. And in one of his drawers, I'm looking through the drawers, and his shirts, and then his underwear, and then his report cards from high school. And underneath that, I found this little notebook, or a number of little notebooks, very small.
Those
this
little
big,
notepads we saw in the film.
you saw in the film. And I looked at them, and of course I couldn't read them, they were in Polish. But I don't know why I thought that, but I immediately thought it was a diary. And I ran into the other room, and I showed David, I said, look what I found. And we took them, we didn't show any of the articles that we found to the family at the time. And I had a friend who was Polish, and I took the diary to her, and she just translated the first couple of pages, and she said, actually, it was just the first couple of lines, and she said, yes, this is a diary. Wow. So at that point, we didn't say anything to the family.
Right, but to your issue of thinking it was staged, we did speak among ourselves as soon as Brenda uncovered the diaries, and we said, oh, we got to show them to the family. And then we thought about it, and we said, we have to film that, right, because it's a documentary. So we can't talk to them about it. So we did not tell the
Yeah,
family.
no, they had no idea. We just
They had
gathered.
no idea, and we just slipped in the diaries when we were having a shoot of the family and this other stuff.
So when you
they
see
could
them
really
finding that
discover
diaries, it's literally the
Yes,
first
they
time
had
they've
no
ever seen
idea.
it.
Wow.
And Leo's son, Les, didn't believe that his father
Had kept the diary.
had kept a diary or could write. So none of that was fake, none of that was lines, none of that was acted. Everything that you see in the documentary actually
Is a
happened
documentary, yeah.
in real time.
Okay. So another question for you. How did you get Stephen Fry? Because the voice of the diary.
And he did a wonderful job. Well, it started with Paul.
I'm among the
those
various.
of you who know, right? There's a famous comedic actor, Stephen Fry,
Yeah.
who voices the diary.
And he's not just comedic. He's written books on mythology. He hosts many
Anyway,
shows.
when we
He's
started
talented.
thinking of animation, we realized that we started making a list of potential actors who we thought might be good to do it. And around the time that we were making the list, Stephen Fry, who had a one-man show that was touring the world about Greek mythology, and it was being presented in near Niagara Falls at the Shaw Festival, and so I'm the president of the Glenn Gould Foundation in the United States, and I was a chairman of the prize committee around that time
for the festival.
and I had chosen Stephen Fry to be one of my jurors. So I met him, and we chatted lightly about this and that. And when I saw in the newspaper that he was going to be in Niagara Falls, I said to Brendan David, we should get tickets. And I know Stephen, and we should ask Stephen, maybe he might be interested in being on it. And although I think he was on our list, but I don't know if he was like on the number one or number two. So anyway, we contacted Stephen's sister, who manages him, and she got us tickets, and we went to the Stratford Festival, and
We went backstage at the end of the show, and it was a fantastic one-man show.
we sent him the trailer.
Yeah. Well, we sent him the trailer, and then we just thought we would just ask him just as a very, very, very preliminary thing. We didn't, like go in there like thinking that
We didn't go to
Sell.
sell.
So we
Exactly.
he said he saw the trailer. He thought it was incredible, and we just talked for a couple minutes, and he said, "Yeah, is there anything I could do?" We said, "Well, one thing we were just considering maybe something you might be interested in, possibly being the narrator." He said, "I'll do it," and that was it.
And that was amazing.
It was even better than that. He says, I know exactly what you're doing. He says, you don't have a lot of money. You're really struggling. This is a fantastic project. I'll do it. I'll do whatever you want, and I'll phone my agent, and you won't be charged the full rate. And it was a wonderful.
He was really fantastic. And
He's been fantastically supportive all the way through.
yeah, he did it on his iPhone.
Yeah. Well, I mean, okay, but the quality today is incredible.
Yeah,
So it makes
yeah, excellent
everything
quality.
just so easy
He
with these
did
kinds
an
of things.
amazing job.
I mean, so we have some. I jumped right in, but your biographies are. Are you a team? Is this like a coincidence? How did this happen? We have.
We are related.
Right. Okay. But so you're music. Let's say.
I'm music. I'm
Right.
a composer. I do film music and stuff, but these guys are the documentarians.
And you do other things besides documentaries, right?
Yes,
You
we
work-
do lots of other things. When you're in the arts, in Canada particularly, in the United States, wherever you are in the world, it's not so easy. So you've got to do lots of different things. And Paul and I particularly, David not so much, but we're old, so we've had the opportunity to do lots and lots of things. So we have had a wonderful, wonderful life in the arts.
Paul here is the co-founder of a famous Canadian rock and roll band called Lighthouse. It's like One Fine Morning, Sunny Days. And about 2 weeks ago, just got a star on the Canadian Walk of
Woo!
Fame.
Okay, but I'm pretty ignorant. Although I did see that the son of Heinrich has a Légion d'honneur on his lapel that I caught.
That's right, yes.
But I did not catch, and I had to ask your dad, what the flower is on his lapel, and I was embarrassed to say that I didn't know. So could you
Don't
just,
be embarrassed. It's not a flower. It's a snowflake.
Okay, being as
Because
Canada.
it's a placeholder for a medal that I got from the Canadian government for something called the Order of Canada.
Amazing.
Which is sort of semi-equivalent to the Congressional Medal of Honor. It's the highest Canadian medal for either civilian or military stuff, and I'm very proud of it. So
You should be.
You're only allowed to wear it when you get an invitation that says decorations.
The full medal.
So, but
Like the
uh,
full
This you
medal,
can-
like the ribbon
this
and the
you
full
can wear.
medal.
with the whole ribbon and everything. But anyway, I'm very proud to.
You should
I
be.
just wanted to say also that David is not just a documentary filmmaker. As you saw, he wrote and edited and did the animation, but he's also a very accomplished musician and composer and has worked with Paul.
And David and
I
I
see.
wrote the film scores and did work together from time to time. Generally, we don't work as a family. But
This is the first time that we
Well, the
ever
three of
did
us.
The three of us together. The two of us had written some music together for television shows. The two of us had produced a documentary about OCD, obsessive compulsive disorder, that won a lot of awards around the world.
National Film Board of Canada, one of the top 5.
Yeah, I'd
But this is the
memorized it.
first time that all three of us worked together, and it wasn't so much intentional as that Leo Spellman came into our lives at the age of 98, and we just grabbed a camera and started filming, and the next thing you know,
But I just wanted to say that not everybody can work with their family,
Yeah.
and fortunately we can. And we had a wonderful, wonderful experience.
occasional fights.
That's
Not
artistic
much.
differences. But I just want to thank you because, again, this was a dozen years, a real labor of love, and we are really the beneficiaries of it. And so I just want to thank you, and Michael and Elaine for putting this together, the MSU College of Music for the tremendous performance they put on last night, and again for us to hear it today. This has been a real tour de force. And
And
we're
if
so-
I
And
can
we
also-
thank you as well.
Go ahead.
It's been wonderful to be associated with your organizations.
Thank you.
Right from the very first call we got about 9 months ago. I can't remember
Yes,
exactly what it was.
Michael, Lane, Stephen,
Stephen Cantrell.
Amy,
Naomi.
Naomi.
Yael.
So many people took
it's
us
a
into
great
their
team.
heart, and thank you all.
Thank you very much. But
Is-
I do want to add.
I hope you're not running anywhere at the end if people have questions and
I
they'll
just
be
wanted
able
to
to
add
ask you. Go ahead.
I just wanted to add one thank you, and I wanted to thank the memory of Henry Vronsky, because without Henry, none of us would be here honoring Leo Spellman, his story and his music. So we
Just have a sense of
cannot,
it.
especially in these times, we can't forget that there are wonderful people in the world who go above and beyond and
The
put
odds, I
themselves at
just-
risk.
About 10% of Polish Jewry survived the war. But people who hid, those were only 10% of the original 3.3 million. And only 10% of those people survived as well. So Leo's story, aside from the diary, is in and of itself a very, very small group of people who survived the war in such circumstances in hiding. Extremely, extremely unusual. So we're so blessed to have had you put the story together, blessed that Leo saw fit to write down a diary, even if he didn't want to talk about it while he was alive, that it was translated, and this has really been such a wonderful thing to be
I
able
just
to bring
want to
forward.
make one more comment.
We never
You got the last word. Go ahead.
Right. Thank you very much for inviting some Holocaust survivors. And one of the things that became part of our family story that would have never happened had we not met Leo and made this documentary was, if you're producing a documentary about a Holocaust survivor, then naturally you meet a lot of Holocaust survivors, and you meet a lot of people. When we went to the 70th anniversary of Auschwitz, liberation of Auschwitz, and we have become enmeshed in a way that we never otherwise would have in the whole Holocaust story and the individual people. And one of the first things that really impressed us was how incredible the survival stories were of so many people. And of course, we're not historians, and we don't know what the real answer is, but it occurs to us that the reason that so many of the stories of the Holocaust survivors are so fantastical and exceptional is if they weren't,
They wouldn't have survived.
they wouldn't have made it. So everybody has a good story and everything like that, but it was a blessing in a sense for us to be able to participate in some small way in perpetuating the memory and the stories of individual people with individual names, as opposed to 3 million, 6 million.
All
and that
individual
kind of thing.
stories. That's so important. I want to thank everybody for staying to the end. The questions, to be able to talk directly to them. So thank the JCC and the MSU and everyone for the participation. And the Hofferts aren't going anywhere, so please have the conversation with them at the end. Thank
Happy
you
to
very
talk
much.
to anyone in the lobby or whatever.